side.
And welcome to Musings, Rants, and Guitars, Wednesday evening live, March 10th, 2021, with our special guest, Mark Bonilla from the Keith Emerson Band.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
me over
Mark.
here.
How
I'm over
you
in the
doing?
upper right. It's like the Hollywood Squares over here. I get to be Paul Lynde.
Yeah, that's great. That's right. We're going to put you up right in the middle in just a second. So
There we go. I like being in. I bet Paul Lynde liked being in the middle.
He did like being in the middle. We know that. You know what
Yes,
else?
he
Like,
did.
Whenever
Lucky Pierre.
we,
well, welcome. We got to say first, love the football helmets in the back.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So fucking
Let me
good,
see if we
man.
get them all. They're all.
Yeah.
And I've got the NFC over here, and the AFC over there, and they're all the full size. Yeah, they're all the full size helmets. You know, like I said, I was telling for all the other guys that didn't hear this, we were talking. The guys and I were talking before about. I made a vow to myself back in 1980. It was 37 years ago, 1987, I think.
Wow.
Whatever the hell it was, 84. And I'd been at some shitty club, and there was a sporting goods shop next door. After I parked my gear, went over there, and I saw all these helmets in there, and they were the full size helmets. And my blood shifted, you know, and I ended up going, man, I this is great. And then I found out how much they want for them, and I said, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to afford them. And I made a vow to myself that I was going to make it in the music business so that one day I would be able to afford the entire collection. Like I was telling them, I just completed that 3 weeks ago. So I got them all.
Wow.
3 weeks ago, I finally got my last helmet, which was the Browns up there.
You know,
So I fulfilled a long-term goal. Not that I've made it in the music business, but it's just at least I got my damn
but you
helmets.
get the helmets.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to have goals.
Yeah.
That's it. Even if it's football helmets, you know.
Yeah, well, you know,
Absolutely.
You know right away if there's an NFL fan because he's going to come in and go, "Fuck, dude!" You know, that's exactly the response you're going to get when they come in.
Yeah.
If they don't, as a matter of fact, it's kind of like, you know, when somebody comes into your door and if you got a dog, if they stoop down to pet the dog right away, you know they're good people.
Yeah.
If they try to ignore the dog, you know, it's like, hey, fuck this guy. So I know that when they come in and go, fuck, no way, I know that I can hang with that guy. So, you know, that's how that is.
Awesome.
It was
Awesome.
so good.
So I know we wanted to get you on because there's a CD DVD release tomorrow, right? That's tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a
Really?
digital download tomorrow, and then a week later, the actual CD or DVD digipack. Yeah, tomorrow's the Blu-ray high def download for all the people that wanted Blu-ray. We're doing it as a download simply because the demographic for the people that would normally be buying this don't have Blu-ray players. They usually have DVD players. So we thought the best try to accommodate as many people as we can without disappointing the Blu-ray players. You know, so
Yeah.
we're doing both.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Gotta be killer. Absolutely
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure if you're watching on YouTube, there's already a link in the description. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm going to put that up in minutes, so this way you can get to it also. Do you know what the retail price is of that by chance?
Well, I know in Britain it's 19. It's like 20 pounds, so I think it's about $34.
Okay.
And it's a 4 disc set. You've got the concert on the first disc. Second disc is interviews and a massive amounts of photos. A lot of them pulled from Keith's mom's photo album that have never been seen before. So it's like Keith when he was just a prat, and some great photos in there, some speeches and such, and then there's audio. There's like a 2 CD set of the concert in audio form that you can listen to. So
Right.
and great artwork by Jerry LaFaro. He redid the Tarkus Manticore.
Yeah.
That looks great.
It's actually up on the screen. I know you can't see it, but it's on the screen now too.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of work that went into that. That we worked
It's
on.
beautiful.
I was the art director, but I really didn't do much. I just said, Jerry, you know what you have to do, and I'll tell you if there's anything that can be improved. Once in a while, I'd come in to do a little like, how about we do that or that? But that was basically his execution of it. There's other artwork in there too. It's kind of like a Roger Dean thing, man. There's all kinds of great things in the
That's awesome.
in the actual.
Yeah, there was, like, obviously, ELP goes back to like the 70s, and the artwork on the albums back in the 70s was so, because you didn't get those, you didn't get videos, you didn't get to look at the artists other than maybe a picture on so the album artwork meant so much at the time. This is definitely a throwback to that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's big. The thing is, back then it was combined media. You had an album jacket that you could actually see the fucking thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't this big, and it's like, it was a big thing, and you'd open it up and you had a gatefold, and it was like legitimately large sized art, not to mention liner notes and things about the artist, pictures, type you could actually read, font size you could actually read.
Yeah.
And it reflected, if it was well done, it reflected the music that laid within it. If you can't separate Pink Floyd from Hypnosis, you can't separate Roger Dean from Yes, you can't separate Giger from ELP. It was so indigenous to the music. So because you watched it while you were listening.
Yeah. Absolutely. And those double albums, man, that's how else you could clean your pot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I can still shake out some seeds and stems from a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
No kidding.
That was a CD.
Yeah, you're not doing that with a CD. That's right.
No, you sure as hell ain't.
Yeah. Tommy's got to use that CD for lines of Coke now, right? Dude?
I was going to say, that's about what you do is you chop it and shred it. Yeah, that's about all you can do.
That's late 80s.
Yeah.
So the people that performed on this were amazing. Can you go through a little bit of that lineup? Because it's like a who's who.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's a lot of guys in there. There was, we had all of our keyboard players first. So I had, Eddie Jobson from UK, Steve Porcaro from Toto, CJ Vanston, he actually went in Spinal Tap and did all the Chris Guest movies. Brian Auger, who was buds with Keith for a lot of years. We had Ed Roth. We had Jonathan Sindelman. We had Rachel Flowers, who did an amazing job of The Endless Enigma, like nailed the entire thing.
Wow.
Philippe Seiss, who plays with Al Di Meola, amazing jazz pianist. I'm probably forgetting somebody.
Jordan?
But yes, of course. I knew I was forgetting Jordan. Jordan Rudess, of course.
Yeah.
He only played the biggest piece of the night. Excuse me. Fuck. Tarkus, and then we had a lot of help on the drums. We had Vinny Caliuta, we had Joe Travers, Troy Laquetta, we had Greg Bissonette, Mick Mahan and Travis Davis on bass. We had Jeff Skunk Baxter on guitar, Steve Lukather on guitar, Mike Wallace on guitar. It was a full cast, man. And then I had Tadje Mikkelsen come in from Norway to conduct the brass at the end of for fanfare. So it was a full stage, at any one given point. It was amazing. And they just parked their egos. If they had any to begin with, they parked them at the door. We had one rehearsal for this shit.
Wow.
And everybody came in already studied. You know, all the charts that I gave them, all the recordings, the breakdowns, all that stuff, they came in dialed, everybody. So it was basically just running through the stuff to see how it was going to sound, you know. And that's what we did. And they just killed it. It was one of those nights where you're proud to be a musician. You're proud to be in that community because everybody supported everybody. It was done for charity, and that's why it took 5 years, because we had it done. I told the guys that no one's making any kind of coin off this. It's all going to go to charity.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was to pay tribute to Keith Emerson, you know,
Right.
who influenced all of us. And it took me this long to find a record company that didn't want to grab a big bite of it. And I had plenty of offers. I just wasn't going to do it because I promised my guys that I would never do that, and I would never sell anybody out. And so Cherry Red Music, or Cherry Red Records, with KEDG management, Martin Darville, lined it up as a favor, actually, to begin with. And then they handled Emerson's ELP's catalog, and they said, well, we're in, man. So, you know, you get 10%, initial 10% are going for the cost of the making of the CD, all of the,
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
almost stuff. 90%, and then after that, it's all going to the Dystonia Foundation, medical research foundation, the Keith Emerson Fund, because Keith suffered from this disease called focal dystonia, where your hands involuntarily collapse like this. You can't help it. And so for musicians, it's terrible. And
Yes.
it doesn't, a lot of musicians don't even know that they have it. And, you know, they think it's something else, and it's very debilitating. And most people don't even know about it. Doesn't even know it exists. So
Right.
we're bringing awareness to that for our brother and sister musicians that need help in this area to try and combat this, because it you know, it really did ruin Keith's life, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Wow.
So there you
yeah, that's well, it's nice. I put the link up for anybody that wants to pick it up ahead of time. Or
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow. And like I say, man, everybody go out and buy a copy of it, because this is all going to charity
Absolutely.
to help. Plus,
That's the
you're going to
best
get a
part.
concert you're not going to believe. I mean, the scope of the music, the scope of the musicianship, the amount of vibe that was coming off of that stage. I don't think I've ever, as many things as I've done, I've never experienced it to that degree. It was amazing. And you'll see it. It comes across, you know, it was just, it's undeniable. So even if it wasn't going to charity, you'd get one of the best concerts you've ever seen. And I'm not saying that because I was involved. It just happened. I just happened to be witness to
That
it.
just happened to be there.
Really,
Yeah,
that's
just-
exactly how I feel. I feel like I just lucked in on this and gave parts to all the guys. I just got out of their way because, you know, as an audience for a lot of the time, just going, man, this is amazing, these guys, you know. So it's definitely, you know, I'm very, very proud of it.
Well, you
Glad I-
should be. You know, you're one of these guys that me and Tommy, we originally.
That's Tommy and I, by
Yeah.
the way.
Oh yeah, you're right. There you go.
Fucking English teacher is going to
Oh my God.
Can you see me and Tommy?
We had the original idea behind this show was we're just going to call this thing "Fuck That Guy," and you're one of
Yeah,
those
fuck
guys
that
we
guy.
would be talking about because you're a guitar player.
Yeah.
And you know your
And-
vocals are wow, they're really good, man.
Well, let me tell you about that. that was miraculous. I'll tell you why it was miraculous. I got sick that week, right? Because of all the, you know, when you're organizing something, it's not just like, oh, let me get these charts out to these guys. I had to worry about catering, you know, copyrights, photographers, get insurance on it. All this shit comes down. I remember it's what Martin Scorsese used to say, directing. It's not directing for him was a nightmare. It was he loved being in the editing bay. That's where I got to be a director. He said all this other shit, you're answering everything, you know. And he hated. So I was so stressed with all of that stuff, trying to keep everybody, you know, on board, and that I got sick that week, and I lost my fucking voice. It went completely out. I sounded like I was like this. I could not get a pitch out. And I'm like, perfect. That's wonderful. Of all the weeks to lose my voice, I'm going to lose it this week. So during the rehearsal the day before, Travis Davis and Rick Livingston both covered for me. And I tried to speak as less as I could, or as little as I could. The next day, no voice. Show day, right? I couldn't sing at rehearsal or at sound check. 30 minutes prior to the show, I still had no voice. I mean, literally no voice. So I went into the bathroom backstage, and I tried to find something in there. I was trying to sing, trying to find a way to try and manufacture a tone, And I think in between the prayers I was throwing up, and
Right.
Yeah.
and you'll see at the end of Carnival Night, because I have to hold this note for God knows how long, and I remember going, "Welcome back, my friends." Okay, I got that. The show that never ends. Good, I got that. That's how my brain was working the entire night. Was
Right.
okay. It's like working 12-step. It's like, okay, I've done this now. I have to move on to this step. It was unbelievable trying to keep ahead of the terrain that I knew was initially going to run me over. And right before, and I forgot that I'd done this until I saw the footage. Right before the last note of "See the Show," I went up and I went, "Keith, you got to fucking help me here, man." I said something like that, like, "You got to help me on this fucking note," and I nailed it. It was like, "Fuck, I'm nailing it," and you're like, and I'm holding it, shit, and then I said, "Okay, good. I got one song down. Now I got another one," knowing at the end I had to go even higher on this note. So it was literally note or sentence by sentence that night. And everybody goes, "Man, your fucking voice sounded like better than I've ever heard it." I went, Jesus. There almost was no voice. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where it came from, but that was another thing. It was like divine, like the gods of rock said, "Okay, I'm going to give you this one, kid." That kind of thing, because I don't know where it came from, to tell you the truth, guys. I don't know.
Wow.
It just, when the chips are down, the show goes on, you have to find it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Like, I looked everywhere, in my old jeans I looked and I couldn't find it. So, but it came. So whether that was divine or not, I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Could have been.
That's great. Yeah, I caught a little bit before that. We go back and review some of the other stuff, and you have a great voice anyway. Great guitar player, great voice. I told you earlier, I go back being a fanboy of yours from many years ago.
Yeah.
But that's we'll get on to that a little bit later. So that's some lineup. How do you get all those people?
Well, I've worked with
like
them all.
shifting
I mean,
around. Yeah.
I've through films and because I've done I do music and Steve Picard and I did Justified for 7 seasons. We were the ones working on that show.
Okay.
And,
Love
we
that
did-
show.
He called me. He called me up on that show because he's the one that got the show. Right? He calls me up and goes, "Mark, the fucking thing they want mandolins and guitars and dobros and shit. I'm a keyboard fucking player. What do I know? So he says, you got to help me come in on this. So I went on it and we ended up. I would take half the show and write it, and then Steve would take half the show and write it. But the stuff he was writing was with 10 fucking fingers, right? And I'd have to recreate it on guitar.
Right.
So there was more tunings that I had to make in order to get through a cue. Because he was doing clusters and shit that you can't do on a
You
guitar.
can't do
Right?
without doing
Like,
it,
thanks
yeah.
a lot, Picard, you cunt. And trying to get this. But the thing was that when I did get it done, it was amazing. It sounded beautiful. It was gorgeous, But
Right.
it was a challenge, and I grew from that experience. I learned how to finger pick. I learned how to play, blues harp and banjo, because I had to. You just kind of do what you have to do, And so, so he and I were real close. We went back further than that, but so when I asked him to do this, he was like, "Yeah, whatever you need," and just all the guys I'd worked with them, on and off during sessions or gigs or the Mark and Brian Christmas show. I'm in bands with them, still to this day, So
Right.
it's they're just friends. They're all my friends, that I'm proud to call my friends. They're just great people, and that's the thing is, it's okay to be good at what you do, but if you can hang. That's what counts. It's all about the hang, and all
what I
these
love.
guys can hang, and that's the thing. That's what makes it a joy, and it comes across on stage when you're playing. Is
Yeah.
because you can see how comfortable everybody is with each other, man. It's just like just like we're doing. You just sit
Yes.
around, and it's like
having that vibe.
yeah, that's all it is. And everybody thinks, oh man, these guys, because Yeah, a lot of these guys are the top in their field, but there's still guys, man, or there's still girls. There's still people that need to hang, and they still, shit drops out of their ass just like mine. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Nothing different.
It's definitely about the hang too, man.
Yeah.
When you got people, your peers that you're working with, like like we're talking about us. It's just has to be a good time, and that's the reason why we're not journalists. We just want to talk about just fucking hanging out,
Yeah,
just talking about
Just being fans.
and
Yeah.
like,
Well, we're just
isn't
idiots anyway.
Isn't that where it's really at? I mean, look,
Yeah.
remember when you used to stand in line like at a Pink Floyd show, right? You'd be passing, back and forth. You'd be drinking.
exactly, man.
Yeah.
You're
Standing in line was as good as seeing the show because you
Yeah.
were with like-minded people.
Yep.
And that's kind of how we are in life, right? If
Yeah.
death is the ultimate show, we're all standing in line, and it's the line that counts. That's what it is. It's the hang in line waiting for the show to start, whatever it is. Those things are what matter. The hang is the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's kind of like what we have here.
Yep.
Me and Tommy started this, and then Lenny
Tommy
and I
and
go
I.
back since we were 5.
Wow,
So
see?
it's like, let's have Lenny on, and he's always good talking to people. And then he came on as a guest the first time. He's like, well, fucking Lenny's in for good.
Yeah, that was-
So it's like, we
but
just
that's
we
just
would
how
never let him go.
That's how you get your friends in your neighborhood, man.
Yeah.
Hanging out together, right? After school.
right, come by tomorrow, man. We'll play ball again.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. That's how it grows, man. By natural ability, not by anything forced.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
get it.
So tell me, how do you've worked with a lot of people. So obviously the on film work and everything else. Let's start from the beginning. Are you native LA? Because I know you're out there now.
No, I was born and raised in Walnut Creek, California, which was up in the
Okay.
East Bay.
Yep.
Up a little bit east of Berkeley.
Right.
And had a real good neighborhood. It was, there still was orchards and fields and shit where you could play, but we had a real musical neighborhood. My brother played drums. He was 10 years older than I was. My mom and dad would play they'd sit on the couch and play folk songs out of the Pete Seeger songbook. They would have
awesome.
auto harp and guitar, and
Yeah.
and then my buddy across the street, his name was Jim Gammon, is still, and he was blind since birth. And I remember would see him, because we lived on a kind of an inclined street, and he'd get up at the top of the sidewalk, or not the side, at the top, the corner of the street, and he would run his trike, pedal it furiously, right, and then lift his feet up, and tool down the street, and then kick into his driveway. And then I remember asking him one time, I said, Jimmy, you got no eyes. How do you do that? How can you possibly? And he goes, oh, I count the clicks in the sidewalk. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, and he went up the top, and sure enough, when you pour sidewalk, there's little seams in between. And when you have a tricycle, they go, gadik, 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 gadik,
Oh,
gadik.
shit.
He counted the clicks. And so he knew 38 clicks, and it sounds
You
like
gotta hit the turn.
Yeah, he said once in a while he'd go to 37 and end up in the Oleanders, but it was okay because he was completely fearless. He never used a cane, a guide dog, any of that shit. And the great thing about Jim was he was an amazing trumpet player, and he was first trumpet in the high school band. He just killed it. He was like a Miles fanatic, and
Okay.
he was the first guy to get all the records. He turned me on to Mahavishnu Orchestra. He turned me on to Blood, Sweat, and Tears, to Chicago, to ELP, all of these different bands. He got the record first because hearing for him was everything. That was his world was touch and hearing. So it was great because he really did teach me how to hear things and how to be aware of things. And so it was we all get together for neighborhood jams, and the guys next door to Jim owned a music store in Walnut Creek called Riley's Music Shop, and they would come over. So we'd have these neighborhood jam sessions, where we all just kind of played. And more for fun. Nobody was trying to outplay each other. It was just actually the shittier you were, the funnier it was, the better time we had.
Right.
So, but it was that kind of a childhood. We grew up, in and around music and recording and all of that stuff. So when I got to high school, I still hadn't gotten an electric guitar, but I had gotten my. I had to get into a band. There was a band in high school named Rock Island, right? And I wanted so bad to audition for them because they were they were the shit. They were the band. And so my parents finally got me a 1972 ES335, and it was. It was my Alvin Lee special because I listened to Alvin Lee. I'm going home by helicopter, and I memorized and could play I'm Going Home note for note, and that nailed it. Got me right into the band like immediately. Like you can do I'm Going Home, and because Woodstock had just come out. I told this funny enough. Last week I did a podcast with Rick Lee, the drummer from 10 Years After, and I told him that. I said, you guys are responsible to give my first band. And it's great, And I said, I'm still. I don't know if you remember at the beginning, Alvin goes, we're going to do a little thing called I'm Going Home by helicopter. And I didn't know what he meant by that. He meant going home by helicopter, like literally, because that's how they flew in. I'm looking, so I told Rick Lee last week, I said, look, you know how many years I spent looking for the version of I'm Going Home by helicopter? I can't find it anywhere. Do you know where it is? Yeah, because that's what I thought it was until somebody goes, no, you dumb shit. No, he meant literally going home by helicopter. Well, I'll give up looking then, It was just one of those things. But so that got me into the band. And for 10 years, I was in that band, high school band into college, and we wrote our own material. And we're together that long, and they taught me, that whole experience taught me how to communicate, how to really share stuff and co-write and all of that stuff. It was and to this day, I keep in touch with every one of the members of that band.
Wow.
We're still friends, man, because like you guys grew up from the old neighborhood, and some of them are still playing, some of them aren't, or some of them are playing in a certain way, like related field, but so it was a great experience. So, and then I hit the clubs up, and when I was in Rock Island, that was the name of the band, I met Ronnie Montrose. Because Montrose...
I got to hear about this.
Ronnie was managed by Bill Graham, and our manager was part of Bill Graham's organization. Okay. And so we got Ronnie to come in to produce, our demo. And Ronnie, and I was a huge Montrose fan. I actually, when Montrose originally broke up, I actually auditioned for Sam Hagar. I found his number. How I found it, I don't know. There was no internet back then. I'm sure I bullshitted like 3 different people.
Yeah, it had to be like past person to person.
Exactly. Exactly. So I called up Sammy and went, Sammy, and he goes, yeah. He goes, this is Mark Bonilla. You don't know me, but I'm going to be your next guitar player. And he goes, is that right? Yeah. He says, yeah. I want to come over and audition. And he I just a long pause, and he goes, you know what? I like your energy, kid. And he gave me his address, and I went over there and auditioned, right? And I'm like blazing away, just fucking firing away. I'll never forget what he said at the end. I said, so how was that, Sam? And he goes, well, you're fast. I'll give you that. And that was, I thought, fucking hey, man, Sammy thinks I'm fast. I didn't get the gig, but Sammy thought I was fast, What a fucking idiot kid I was. So, So it wasn't until later on that actually I got to meet Ronnie, and Ronnie and I got on really well. We had a really sick sense of humor. We would often go into the city to watch a very depraved movie called Salò, the 120 Days of Sodom, which was a Pasolini film, and it was very graphic in its depictions. We would go to watch the people who went to that film. Sure. Because the people that went to that film were a film unto themselves, like depraved looking people. We would just go to look at them all because so we'd sit in the back and find out who was going to be in the audience this time, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, one guy, I'm talking like seriously violent things are going on. And this one Asian gentleman would just go up with an Instamatic camera and go, click, and then go down like that. You know, it was just shit like that. Like, whoa, did you see that? You know, it was just all kinds of shit would happen. You know, so we had a great sense of humor in that way, and you know, he helped me immensely just in guiding me along. He was my mentor, and I would help him do stuff, you know, like arrange and, you know, do scoring stuff and all of that. And we were just great friends, man. And that's why he was on my records. And, you know, so then by virtue of his helping me in the studio, I was down in San Jose playing one of the songs. It was White Noise off of Double E Ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Playing it in the shitty little club with JC and the Twisters. It was a band that I was in with Don Frank and Dave Nolan from, they were guys who were down in San Jose area in a pub. And we're playing away, and in comes this guy, looks like Keith Emerson. You know, I'm like, looks like Keith Emerson. It's not Keith Emerson. And finished playing, and sure enough, he comes up and introduces himself as Keith Emerson. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, what are you doing here? And he goes,
Right.
oh, I mean, you know, I'm just in it says, what was that last song you did? And I said, it's called White Noise. And he goes, oh, it's good that. He says, you're gonna record it. And I said, yeah, we're gonna record it. He goes, do you mind if I play piano on it? And I looked at him, you know, and I kind of went, the only thing I could think to say was, well, what have you done? You know, like thinking it was gonna be a joke, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I was in a band called, no, I said I had a band called ELP. I said, stop. I know who you are, okay? I know who you are. I have fucking posters of you in my room. I know who you are. Yes, you can play piano on my record, you know. And he goes, do you water ski? Which was not the next question I was anticipating. And I had never water skied in my life. So I said, yeah, I water ski.
Of course.
You know, and so we're going out water skiing the next day, you know, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm water skiing with Keith Emerson. And he explained to me that he was in town to do a record with this guy named Kevin Gilbert. And would I like to be, you know, play guitar on you know, I said yes. And then I went over and met Kevin Gilbert, and Kevin didn't know who the hell I was. You know, it's like, who's Keith bringing home from water skiing? You know, and you know, it was one of those things where whatever I played, the first thing I played, he's like, okay, you know, I could tell there was some friction. I played something, and Kev looked around and he goes, play that again immediately. And I went, okay, you know, and then he hit the record button, and I did, and he goes, that was exactly what it needed. And then and then we went out to dinner that night, I remember, and I was talking about how everything should be, you know, if we're doing this record, we really need to dry it up a little bit, not so much reverb, you know, because I said,
Right.
Out of these fucking mixers, some of these guys, it's like the whole fucking song sounds like the end of Pleasant Valley Sunday. And if you know Pleasant Valley Sunday, at the end, the whole reverb. And Kevin goes, I can't fucking believe you just said that. Says, I use that as an example. Every fucking time I get too much reverb, I say at the end of, you like the Monkees? And I went, I fucking love the Monkees. I never admitted to anybody, but I love them, you know. He says, me too. So we found out that we had this mutual like love for Gentle Giant and for the Monkees, you know, like these two wide swaths.
Right.
And yeah, completely wide.
Yeah.
And when he went back home to LA, we would talk on the phone for hours, you know, and until finally he said, you know, I'm doing a couple things down here. Why don't you come down here and do them with me? So I did. And I said, you know what? I just got picked up by a record company or by Guitar for the Practicing Musician. They're starting a label. I get to do my first instrumental record. How about you produce it? And he goes, absolutely. So we went down there. And by the end of that summer, after recording Double E Ticket in his living room, really, he asked me to join Toy Matinee, because at that point, Toy Matinee was just releasing their album. And he said, I need to go to Japan and do a promotional tour. How about you and I go? And we did. We went together, you know. And then after that, we came back, did the Mark and Brian show, and Mark and Brian just, you know, loved us, you know.
Yes.
And so it grew from there. You know, we added Toss Panos on drums, and we added oh God, I'm spacing. I'll think of it in a minute. Cheryl Crow on.
Yeah. She did something once in a while, right?
Yeah. And I'm spacing on names now. Our bass player, he's going to kill me. But anyway, so we I'll think of it in a second. It's just, you know, it's the drugs.
Just kicking in now. I know.
Yeah, because the acid's starting to catch up.
Yeah. so we toured, and did things from there. So it was a great, so that's how I got to LA in the 90s was, because Kevin said, look, man, you need to come down to here if you really want to do something. This is where it's happening down here in LA, not up in Walnut Creek or wherever, Martinez, wherever you were. Not going to happen up there, So anyway, so that's how I got down to, to LA from there.
Yeah. That was my first introduction basically to you as I was
Spencer Campbell, for fuck's sakes. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Hell, I forgot his name. I love Spencer.
Would have been even better if you hit the Zoom button in 3 a.m. and go, fuck guys, get back on.
Spencer. Yeah. All right. So you were saying, Joey.
So my first introduction to you was, I had heard Toy Matinee, and I was telling the guys, some of the guys I've talked to in the past couple of days didn't know Toy Matinee that well, but I mean, I was infatuated with you guys. You guys were amazing. But I think more because you and Kevin went on and did some acoustic things on with Mark and Brian, and it was just fascinating. I mean, I love the music, love the album. It was great.
Yeah.
But I can't even remember all the stuff. I remember you being on there quite a bit, and I was just like, and I would just remember, whatever was going on with the work, it just got pushed off to the side because it was.
Well, we did. I know we did a good version of "Sweet Judy Blue Eyes." We killed that song. Yeah. We did El Paso for Mark for his birthday.
I remember that one. I specifically remember because
one of the things that we did is because Kevin and I had, he was. I think for me, he was as close to a musical brother, like twin, that I've ever had in my life. We finished each other's sentences. We had exactly the same album collection at home, vinyl, mind you, and we just clicked, And so Mark and Brian said, "Hey, look, we're going on vacation. How about you guys host the show?"
Yep.
So we went, fuck yeah, we get to do it. 4 hours of just us, of course, We'll shamelessly promote our own egos,
How much do you pay you to do this?
Yeah. So we went on the show, and the night before we were figuring out what are we going to do? We got to cover 4 hours, Yeah. So we were coming up with shit to do, and a couple of things that turned out to be very surreal. Is one of them we decided we were going to write a song on the air with everybody's help to phone in a chord or a lyric. And then and by the end of the show, we would make a song out of it and perform it right after commercial break. So we had only the commercial break to write the song, put the chords in, put the lyrics in, and figure out what the catch was, and we did.
Yeah.
And the other thing we did is I did a tape way back. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, like the original series, right? I could quote you I used to drive my wife out of the room because I would quote the dialogue from the series like a split second before they would say it online. I go, will you stop doing that? It's annoying, but I knew it that well. So what I did one day is it was actually a week. I had an old Tascam Portastudio, and I took all the one-liners off of all 78 episodes that had any kind of sexual suggestive meaning, right?
Okay.
I never used it on a human doctor, shit like that,
Yeah.
And I mean, stuff that was completely innocent, but putting them in a sentence together made it sound completely filthy, right? So I had the soundtrack the soundtrack sound effects. I had the soundtrack sound music. I put my own episode together, right? And so within that episode, it's the premise is they've been 5 years out on the out of space, and so they're getting a little bit horny and a little bit out of control, right? And so you got throughout the series, you've got Bones getting fucked up the ass by Spock and Chekhov blowing Kirk, so I guess only from the dialogue. There's nothing that says that. It's just the sequence of the events that happened. It turned out that way, and I worked completely without a script. I just did this, and the reason I did it was just for my Trekkie friends. you know,
Right.
as a laugh, right? You know, and it was clocked in at about 15 minutes. You know, it was a long episode, but back then I had no career, so I could do this shit. You know, and
You were doing this with tape. I mean, it wasn't even digital. You were
I had to fade things back in and out, like you know. So fast forward to the night before the Mark and Brian show. I said, "Hey, Kev, I got an idea. I got this Star Trek stuff. Because it's nothing dirty in there, really. It's just insinuate. You know, it just insinuates.
right.
You know, let's pretend that we found we're at the Paramount vaults and we found a lot. We call it the Lust episode, you know, of Star Trek that never aired." And we played, you know, we'd go let's go back to join our buddies on the Enterprise, see where they're at now, you know, and then, you know, there'll be some depravity going on between Bones and Spock or whatever, you know. And so we got through playing that stuff, and we're taking calls on the, you know, calls, and I, you know, you get a readout of who's calling and for what, you know, they screen the calls and all that, and you can talk on air. And I see a call number 14 or whatever is from Paramount Studios. And I'm like, shit. You know, I'm fucked. You know, I'm down here a week and I'm getting sued by Paramount, you know. and so I took the call off air because I didn't, you know, during a commercial break, because I did not want to be sued on air, you know.
Yeah.
So I called, I went, yes. And he goes, is this Mark? Yes. You know, this is Kelly Ferguson. I'm Gene Roddenberry. I'm calling for Gene Roddenberry from Paramount. Yeah, I went, yeah. I'm just sitting there going, you know, and she says, Gene heard this stuff this morning. He thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. He wants you to come down to the Paramount lot and play it for the writers. and you know, and the phone is still in the air, you know, and I'm already out the door, you know, that kind of shit, you know, where it was just. So the next day, I'm down at the fucking Paramount lot. You know, I've never been on this movie set, you know, yet. And so I'm going to Gene Roddenberry's office. I'm sitting in his office, right?
Oh my
You think these NFL helmets give you a boner? No. The fucking Vulcan harp is up there. The original one, right?
Oh, no.
Lasers and communicators and all of this shit, you know, it's that's the shit. That's the real shit, you know. Because he was in a writer's meeting, right? So I'm sitting in his office just, you know, trying real hard just to keep my pants dry, you know, and he comes in and I introduce himself, and I'm like, you know, you don't know what a pleasure it is. This is great. And he goes, oh, I know what kind of a pleasure it is by how the love you employed to that tape. I know you, you know. And so he brought the writers in and played the tape, and everybody was dying on the floor, you know. So this is great. So he goes, I need to get a copy of that for Leonard and Bill, you know. You know, and I said, here, take it, you know, and I just gave him my fucking tape, you know, and, you know, and then he goes, what are you doing? I said, not a damn thing, you know, and he says, you want to go tour the sets? And I went, yeah, I'd love to tour the set. They had just wrapped The Wrath of Khan, right? Okay. So they still had the sets up, and they were also filming The Next Generation on some of those sets. They had repurposed them.
Right.
So I'm down there, and you know, the first place to go is engineering deck, where Spock died, you know, in Wrath of Khan, you know. Yeah. And I'm putting my hand up on the mirror, on the glass, you know, and tearing up, you know. I'm like, this is really emotional for us where he died, you know. And then we went down the hall, and I told Gene, I said, look, man, you're gonna have to forgive me, but I have to run down the hall, because every time in a Star Trek episode, when you ever see the hall, it was people running because of the red alert, you know. Yeah. And he's shaking his head like, oh, this fucking guy. And so he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better. We go over to the bridge of the Enterprise, and they weren't using it that day. It was dark, right?
Oh, okay.
He pulls off all the covers, and he gets the gaffer to come over and light the set for me. And he goes, go sit in the captain's chair. So I'm now in Captain Kirk's fucking chair on the bridge of the Enterprise, reliving my wet dream from 1984. You know, I'm turning around going, Mrs. Spock, Captain Kirk, oh, tell her, you know, I'm doing my best William Shatner. I order you to take him on, you know, doing this shit. You know, and people are just dying, you know, and I'm like, and there's no camera. This was way before cell phones and shit. There's no way you could get any of this stuff. I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm on the bridge of the fucking Enterprise. Yeah. All from that stupid fucking tape I did in 1984. So, moral of the story is, you know, smoking is bad for your health, I guess. But, you know, it's
not there.
Yeah. I don't know.
That is,
it's just, you never know where shit's going to end up. You just never know.
You don't.
If you do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I agree with
do
that.
it out of love for what you do, which is what you guys are doing.
Right. Just be creative and just love it. Fucking A,
Yeah,
man.
no filters.
Yeah, that is probably one of the best stories we've had on here.
Yeah.
That we had
By far
Ricky
the best.
Medlock telling us about it when he met the Lone Ranger. That was pretty good, but that one,
Oh God, wasn't that a great story?
Oh, it's
I love
so
that story.
good.
I didn't
Yeah.
know it was you. Yeah. Oh, what
Yeah.
a great story that was. I love that story.
oh
Yeah.
my god,
So
it's
good.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you
man.
know what? Life is full of those stories, and I bet
Yeah.
all of you guys have them too. You know what I mean? Just
Absolutely.
that's what's great about it is storytelling, man. Which is
Yeah.
what music is. Music
Yeah.
is storytelling.
It
It is
is
storytelling.
absolutely.
That's what it is. You know.
So,
Just
all
the
right.
joy,
So
baby.
you did the Toy Man. I gotta ask, do you still have a recording of El Paso anywhere?
Yeah,
Do you? Oh man,
I do. Plus, I have the recording of the one we did after it for Brian's birthday,
did you?
which was Comanche. It was made. There was a guy named Johnny. How is it? Edwards? Something like that. Did one from about that same era called Comanche the Brave Horse.
Okay.
And we did Comanche the Dead Horse, and I did him in that voice. You know, he goes, you know, it's like that
Yeah.
voice from like Roy Orbison type of voice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a flap of skin hanging off of here from having to do that for the entire recording. You know, I was like here doing to get the right vibe. But it was great. It was it was the sister piece to the to the other thing. So yes, I have both recordings of those. Would you like me to send them to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You have the email, so that'd be great. I'd
Yeah,
love to
yeah.
hear it.
I'll send you
Love
that.
to hear it.
Well, you know what I'll do? I'll give you a little gift. I'll give you a little care package. I'll send you a Toy Matinee acoustic care package because we did a version of
Awesome.
White Noise together. We did a version of Come Come Emmanuel, which was really good that we did.
Uh-huh.
Kevin and I, because we just loved playing together. It was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, you could hear that. Like I said, I heard you a lot on the radio every day. I was lucky I worked in an office, so I got to hear it every day. It was on the
Yeah,
air,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, that little stuff like that. Where you can hear that the way you guys blended. Is
Yeah.
just amazing, and
Yeah.
your voices together were just crazy.
Yeah, it just when things, it's like we blended like we were brothers. How
Yeah.
brothers blend,
Yeah.
like the Everly
Yeah.
Brothers or Edgar and Johnny, whatever it happens to be,
Yep.
they can
Yeah.
blend. Because we both we kind of grew up with the same musical proclivities, and so because of that, you kind of go to those same areas that you would normally go. And I'm sure all of you guys have experienced that where you're on stage with somebody that knows their shit like you do, and so you sing together, right? And then you go, oh, he's going to sing the pit, and you're going to sing the melody. I'll go up and do harmony. And then you both go up and do harmony. Oh, fuck, we're still in unison. Shit, well, then I'll go back down. And then you both go back down.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no harmony. There's no harmony that's ever sang. And you just laugh at it and go, okay. But it's because you both were thinking the same things, so.
Right. Oh man. So after Toy Matinee, what did you do after that?
Yeah, what was next?
It was a complete change of direction. When I was with Toy Matinee, one of the times around Mark and Brian, James Newton Howard had heard the show and heard whatever guitar stuff I was doing and called up our manager, Doug Buttleman, who he knew, managed us. And he said, hey, man, who's the guitar player in your band? I know you manage Toy Matinee. And he goes, that's Mark Bonilla. And he goes, fuck, guys, do you think you'd come in and do some soundtrack stuff for me, So I called James. James called me and he said, "Yeah, because James was just getting. He was in Elton John previously, and was just getting started in movie soundtracks.
Okay.
And so he called me, and so I came in and did a slew of movies for him. For the next few years. Digstown, American Heart, I think were the first two. Then Waterworld, Born Identity now, Green Lantern. Space Jam, a ton of films he did, and then other composers decided, that he hung out with said you should use Bonilla. So I worked on. I kind of went into my soundtrack era where I was doing a lot of soundtrack, like session work. And that's where I met a lot of the guys that I work with now.
Right.
And then I ended up writing for a lot of them, and doing stuff. One time I had to write something like within 5 minutes because Joel McNeely, another writer, we were doing a movie called Terminal Velocity, and with Charlie Sheen
Yeah.
and Niskoski. Anyway, so we were in there, and it's a little intimidating because I've got my rig set up, and then it's the entire orchestra, right, on the other side of the place, and they're like, "Who's this fucking guy over here?" So we were doing the session, and it comes almost time for lunch break, And Joel comes up to me and goes, man, I blew it. I forgot cue like 1M6, you know. It's the skydiving cue. The first thing you see Charlie Sheen where he's coming down and he's going down into town and he ends up landing. I didn't write anything, and the director's going to expect to see something after lunch. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? And he says, can you like stay here with, I think it was John Robinson and Neil Steubenhouse were the two guys. Can you stay here with these guys and write something while we're at lunch? You know, I'll pay you like triple. I'll pay you anything you want. I said, you don't have to, no, I'll do this. Cause I was trying to bail him and because I know I'd work again if if I bailed him out. So
Yeah.
Right.
anyway, so we, I wrote out something and showed it to the guys, and the guys worked out, and we recorded it, right? I wasn't even looking. I knew it had to be, he said it had to be like, like a minute and 36 seconds or whatever it had to be, however long it had to be. So we made it that long and then mixed it, came back, just, time for everybody to come back from their union break, come back in. Okay. Now, Joel goes, can you, since you wrote it to film, I said, I didn't see the film. I was just doing, well, can you sell it to the director? And I went, what, you want me to convince him that this cue is, fuck, I haven't even seen the cue to picture. I have no idea. So he goes, just, you got to do it for me, and I did, and so I'm sitting with the director. I've seen it for the first time like he is, right? And I'm trying to explain my, I'm just watching, what I did, hearing what I did, and then I'm going, okay, now you see right there, I Delph bombed that thing, but it was like the drop of gravity, right? He's going, oh, that's great, Now you see here with this, I turned the cord that way because the G-force is different. I'm making this shit up as I'm seeing it. I'm making it up, When you see down here where you have that thing that's wobbling like that, that's the air velocity of the parachute coming in, and boom, And he goes, I love this cue. This is the most brilliant thing I fucking, and I'm like, geez, just making it up as you go along. Sometimes that's what you have to do, So for that cue, that's what I did. I made it up as I went along.
Yeah.
It did work, but I had nothing to do with it, really. It was just kids. Sometimes shit works out that way. Just kismet,
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much how we interview too. So
Yeah,
it's,
but-
we have no idea what we're doing.
that's good. That's good. No, that's great. That's how you should go in. If you're in there sitting there going, okay, now for this, what's your favorite? It's no good. It's better to just, it's jam session, right?
Yeah.
Jam
we,
session.
we spend most of our time just laughing at each other
Improvising.
and with the guests, that's the only way to do it,
Yeah, yeah.
We have such a fun time here.
So all of the, so the next several years, I did a lot of TV stuff, as well. I did the PJs. I don't know if you ever saw that show. I got an Emmy nomination for one of the themes that I did with my wife, Joey. It was great. So I did a lot of, and it wasn't until like 2005 that Troy Luccketta wanted me to record a thing he wanted to do in his drum clinic. Troy Luccketta, Tesla's drummer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I tried to relearn something I played, on the first album, and my fingers were just not working. They were just like, I can't do this anymore. Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So, and it was because I'd been so inactive with it to that degree because I was writing on keyboard most of the time, And if I was doing guitar, it was like ambient stuff. It wasn't like any kind of technical issues.
Right.
So I vowed at that point I was never going to let that happen again. So I decided then to divide my time between studio work and live playing. Because people were wondering where the hell happened to me anyway, because they said, you had 2 albums, then what happened to Bonilla? Because I was kind of underground for a number of years doing soundtrack stuff, which was great because it bought me my studio and it bought me my house and all of that stuff. It was great. And I got to play with wonderful people and got to work with, just great creative folk, and so it wasn't until, 2005, then I got together a band with Troy, a band called Seville Row that was like an alternative rock band. We wrote all the stuff, and I wasn't playing like a lot of extended solo stuff, but it was great. And then I joined in 2006. Keith Emerson called and asked me to go on the road with him, which is what I did. And I had met Danny Serafin at that time from Chicago.
Yeah.
And he asked me to put together a band, CTA. And that's what I did with him. So I was now really kind of going almost the other way
Right.
into so much live playing, but it was great because I got to travel a little bit more than I was used to doing at that point. and got to see a lot of the world, got to play with a lot of great players, and so it I kind of, and now it's kind of it's right in the middle where it needs to be, a nice balance between all of that, where I'm teaching, I'm doing a lot of different things, which keeps you stimulated. You can draw from a lot of different sources, but use the same muses for all that stuff. So
Right.
That's
True.
very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a huge difference? Like, I did a little bit of soundtrack stuff, nothing what you did. I just, a friend of mine was making a film and I helped him out on it.
It was porn.
It seemed to be,
You soundtracked for porn.
yeah, well, whatever.
so it sped up and slowed down a lot, you think?
Yeah. It was only 2 minutes anyway, so.
You're a premature composer, aren't you?
Yeah. What did you find it very it's almost relaxing, I think, for soundtrack, because you're just trying to get across an emotion. You're not trying to write a hit song. Not that everybody thinks about writing a hit song, but it seems almost easier, not easier. It's just writing differently, I think. Did you
It
find
is
that
writing.
as well?
Yeah, it's but the pressure is a lot greater because you're constantly under a deadline. So it's a trade-off. It's a different type of, and the thing is that the art to soundtrack writing is really understanding. You have to understand the plot, the characters, and realize from cue to cue if you're going to play spot on with the action, or if you're going to play against the action, if you're going to be neutral and absorb the flavor of the acting that goes around. There's a lot of things you don't just write stuff behind it. Because music can make or break a film, and it can also save a film in some degrees, as far as that goes. So it becomes a character in the film, and you have to think about who are you playing. Are you playing what character? Are you playing not a character but a situation, a universal truth? What are you playing with? There's a goal for each cue. And it changes. Some of them, like an action cue may be like spot on, things that go with the action, or it may be something completely different. Like if you remember Platoon, when Sergeant Elias comes running out of the jungle being chased by all the Vietnamese, right? They're not playing action music. They're playing Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings.
Yeah.
This gorgeous string thing that just makes it, if you had like different music under that thing, it would have been completely different. But because they played against that thing, it became a whole different narrative. And so that's what happens. You have such a wide variety of moods that you can play against it or with it or alongside it. So it's challenging, and at the same time you can't detract from what's going on screen unless it's a music moment with visual. You can't, be back there where the people are going, man, let's check that music behind it. That's great. You failed because it's too good. In other words, it's commanding too much attention. Doesn't mean you have to write. You're not writing shitty. You just have to write to the piece. It's a real skill that you develop, and one that never stops developing. Really, trying to get to that point where, like Ennio Morricone was, or John Williams was, or James Newton Howard as well. Of knowing what to put where, to make, and then the other problem you have, Joey, is everything has to be approved by a committee. And usually that committee doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They think if they get an office and a desk and a secretary that they've been imbued somehow mysteriously as musical insight. And that doesn't work that well. They have to justify their job somehow by rendering an opinion, and it was, and it's one of those things where, a lot of times the executive opinions would be 180 degrees apart from each other. This needs more music. This needs less music on the same fucking cue. So it's like, what are you going to do? So it's often infuriating sometimes if you get somebody that doesn't get it, and you have to placate them because they don't know what they want, Luckily on Justified, we had Graham Yost, God bless him, because he was a fan, huge Keith fan. I'll have to tell you that story. Huge prog fan. But he's this huge player in Hollywood, he's created the Band of Brothers, Mr. In Between, a couple other movies and films, and Justified. He was a creator of Justified. He ran interference for Stevie Porcaro and myself. He did. He would say, "You guys are doing great. We're getting nothing but great reviews. Nothing's broken. Let me handle the executives. I'll tell them to fuck off or whatever I have to do. Keep writing." It was a wonderful environment. This guy.
Wow.
And what was great is to pay him back for some of that. Steve had called and says, "Do you think you might be able to ask Keith if maybe he'd go out to dinner with all of us?" because they were massive ELP fans, right?
Okay.
So I asked Keith, I said, hey, do you think? He goes, absolutely. And so we went out to dinner at this place, and Chris, Graham Yost, his brother Chris was down from Canada, and they're both there, right? And these guys are like major players in Hollywood, right? You know, and they're in there in the restaurant, like sitting on their hands like Chris Farley, like Keith. So like on Lucky Man, like that Moog you did, that was cool. You know, it was like we were completely reduced down to fanboys. It was great. You know, these guys were just like back in high school, meeting one of their heroes, and it was heartwarming because Keith was completely like, yeah, I did this, I did that, or I don't know what the hell I did, whatever it was. And we closed the restaurant down with just the five of us, you know. It was just wonderful. But that's how Graham and his brother Chris are. They're just wonderful people and down to earth proggers, you know, and nothing else trumps that shit, you know. It was the hang. Again, it's the hang.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It equalizes everybody. That shit.
Yeah, it does.
That's-
Doesn't it?
Also, that great insight on soundtrack work, and thank you for sharing.
I would have never guessed what you were just telling us about working against the scene or what character through the music, and that's just an eye opener. That's so much you have to think about when you're approaching a piece of music like that. Now, do you find it vastly different to record like a soundtrack as opposed to like being in the studio and doing a record?
Yeah, well, for one, you have union players usually, and you're on the time clock, so you have to really maximize the use of your time, especially if you have like a string section or orchestra, that gets expensive. So there's coffee breaks you have to kind of allow for this, all these things that normally, if you're just a bunch of guys in the studio, it's just like, I'm in there from this hour to whenever we get tired.
Till we get tired.
It isn't like that on a soundtrack thing. No, it's not like that. So
Wow.
There's a lot of structure that goes on in spite of all the creativity. You have to kind of wrangle that a little bit and know how to handle that. So it varies from project to project, what type of executive producer, who the director is, if they really get what you do, if they really trust what you do. So that's the thing. So it really is a varying thing, Lenny, as far as how to, but as far as making a record, again, it's the great thing about that is you don't have to pass it by a committee when you're doing a record. It just you have to dig it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it'll either stand or fall on its own merit, not because somebody else decides something about it. So it can be stressful in that way. But again, everything's in balance. You get to play with some great players. You get to have an orchestra at your beck and call as far as, that kind of stuff, which is what we did in Munich. It was great. See, in Munich, we had a little of both of that because when Keith and I went to Munich, we had the Munich Radio Orchestra there. And Tadej Mikkelsen had said, look, this was on the Three Fates project that we did.
Okay.
And he says, I have this orchestra that I'm going to be conducting. Why don't you write a couple of classical pieces and maybe adapt another one of yours? And I went, are you kidding me? Absolutely. I mean, how many times do you have it like an orchestra, like to play whatever it is you want them to play?
Right.
And so I wrote a couple of things, I wrote a couple of things, and we did American Matador, that as well, in addition to a full version of Tarkus and all that. And here's the thing, and this is something that I'm sure that all three of you have experienced at one point, and this is where music comes from. It does not come from you, and I've learned this. It never has. It comes through you, and if you start to believe that it comes from you, you've already limited it. It's already now become a finite source, because at some point you're going to go, man, I got nothing left. I got nothing in me. Then you get writer's block. And it's like going out into the desert with a canteen of water. Well, you're good at first, but after a while, water's going to run out, right? But if you think of music or you think of creativity, it doesn't matter if it's music, just creativity as a river that runs right alongside that desert. And you go over there and you can dip your cup whenever you want. You'll never run out of ideas. But you have to trust that. It's very important that you trust that shit will come. I've never, and I'm not bragging, it just has never happened. I've never had writer's block. I'm going to have it, but I'm going to have it, right? Now, you can't tell me that all three of you all write? Do all three of you write?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can't tell me there wasn't any time that you guys have gone back to something that you've done in the past and gone, man, I don't even fucking remember writing it. How the hell I came up with that fucking thing.
Yeah.
I
Right?
want to
It's
play
like,
it.
yeah, well, that's the same thing. Like, how did I do that? It's because you fucking didn't do it. It was whoever channeled through you is what did it. And they're like firemen up there in your brain, right? They're like sitting around reading the newspaper, watching the soap opera until you do this or you do this or whatever it is. It's like a fire alarm. They all go, fuck, he needs us down there. And they come down the pole and they get into your truck and go, where's the fire? You know, and what
That's
you
so
do
good.
as a musician is you keep that fucking fire truck, tuned up. Make sure the tires are good. Make sure you got oil in it. So whatever they want to do, however they want to drive it, it'll perform for them. And that's where the rehearsing and the chops come in and all of that stuff. So that's what it is. You have to channel that stuff. And so when I was over in Munich, I wrote like these 2 symphonic pieces. You know, now I've written stuff with strings and shit. This stuff had to stand on its own, like we were talking about. You know, this isn't going to be, in back of like a car chase, where people are going to be distracted, and they're going to be listening to this, going either this sucks or this is pretty good, or And so one of the pieces that we did, we were mixing it, and the producer, his name is Torsten Schreier. Very, very, I guess, prominent producer in Germany, as far as classical records go. He's like one of the sought after guys. We happen to have him. So he's up there, he's asking me, he said, so where did you study? And I'm going, well, the street mostly, and he goes, no, I mean the conservatory. And he goes, the street mostly, and he goes, well, he goes, you tell me you didn't go to, no, I'm, says, where's your classical training? Says, I know, you got me all wrong. I'm a rock and roll fucking guitar player, and I could see him, his veins are starting to stick out in his neck.
Because he's getting upset. Yeah.
His paradigm is right. His paradigm is being threatened, right?
Yeah.
And so he's going, well, this piece you wrote, you must have been influenced by Mahler because it sounds like something Mahler would have written. And I go, I don't even listen to Mahler. I listen to Debussy. And he goes, well, I can't understand this. He really was pissed because
he rocked his fucking world.
Right? Yes, right. Or I didn't. Whoever the fuck wrote this did. And that's the thing is I can't take credit for that shit. I wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it down, but the ideas that came to me, I don't know who did that. It was somebody besides me. It wasn't me. I didn't rip it off from anybody. It's just that. And I had to change completely to do something completely different than what I was used to doing, but I could trust the source. And I knew that whatever it is, it'll manifest into something else. And this will happen if you're, this is how musicians can be actors, actors can be painters can be dancers, everybody can do something. Art is the same. The creativity, the storytelling, all of that is exactly the same. You have to use spaces. You have to use punctuation. You have to use things to tell a story from point A to B to C to D. When you get guitar players that just rattle on like this, all they're doing is they're reciting an alphabet. They're not really putting a sentence together where you're taking a breath, then you're coming back with something, you're taking a breath, and there's a line to it. There's a line of logic to it. They're not doing that. It takes storytelling, and it doesn't matter what vein or genre of music you're in. It's the same rules apply. You have to channel and trust that you can channel it because you can. You just have to trust it. And it's like working a muscle. It's like the first time you do a backflip, I was like, fuck, I hope I do this. Once you do it a couple of times, you go, hey, I can fucking do it. Then you do it with more confidence because you can trust the fact that you're going to land without breaking your neck. And that's the thing. You're on a tight wire knowing that, hey, I've gone across this thing 100 times now. I'm not going to fall. And so you do that. You light it behind you. You don't look back, and you walk straight forward, man. And that's how you do it.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So well.
Dude.
Yeah.
That
is
was
awesome.
amazing.
To answer your question, Lenny.
Yeah. And then so.
Yeah. So we want to talk to you a little bit now. You've talked about the bands and stuff. I want to ask you a little bit about some of your gear and stuff.
Yeah.
We're big gear guys.
Yeah.
That's obviously way too much shit back here.
No, there's not enough shit back there. I see dark places with nothing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
I see space.
I think you're all guilty of that. As a matter of fact, I can see corners in the room. There should be no corners.
So, we like to always ask, the artist, the one that got away, that piece of gear that you sold, you traded, you gave to a hooker that, you sold it for a bag of Coke, do you have one you wish you could get back?
Yeah. My first ES335 that I got, my parents bought me, man. I sold it because I was getting heat from the bands going, it's got no sustain. It's a hollow body. You need sustain. You need a Les Paul, Mark. You need a Les Paul. And so I sold it, much to my chagrin, to get a Les Paul. And it was like that was my first. It was like your first love. It was like I love it. So I'll needless to say, years later, I bought another one that actually sounds wonderful. It's not the same one.
Right.
And I often wonder where he is or where she is or where, where that gets. You ever wonder about your gear? Like, who has it now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. I have a guitar that got away, and I'm searching reverb for it.
What is it?
It was interesting. It was a Hamer KK Downing V, which they only made very few of.
Yeah.
And it I don't know. There was just something about it. It was red. It had a flame top. It had a Kahler for all, which is fine.
Yep.
And it was the perfect guitar. But the band, we needed a PA, so I traded it for a PA head.
Team player.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just I see them every once in a while. They come out. You see them every once in a while, but there's so much money now that I have to.
Yeah.
I would have to sacrifice a Les Paul.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I have over in my corner here one that I got that I was am still, always will be, huge Johnny Winter fan.
Yes.
And I grew up with Johnny and Edgar, and the fact that I got to play with Edgar was just like, for me, it was just like, my God, this is great,
Right.
But Johnny, so I'd see that Firebird, man, that Firebird 5, and just that tone that he got on his slide, Highway 61 Revisited, but I'm left-handed, right? Good luck. Find any damn guitar you want. Yeah.
You got one. Right?
Yeah.
I got the only one. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
You got to see this. This is sick.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. He plays some like beautiful guitars.
Yeah.
Look,
Fucking lefty.
Lefty.
Holy
I'll see if I can get it in focus here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull this away.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna bring you back in.
wow.
Yeah.
That is a work of art.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the only left-handed. You can see it says Gibson on it. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
No, that's
sure
real.
See it
does.
right there.
Yep.
Left, all the way up, with the banjo heads, the banjo
Yeah.
tuners.
Now
You know.
I've had Firebirds. I keep getting them, and I sell them because I can't play them for some reason. I love them, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah. Well, it's an acquired, acquired neck, isn't
it
it?
is. It's an
Yeah, I
acquired.
know
I
it's
love them.
Wow.
I think they're the most
Yeah.
beautiful guitar.
Yeah.
And Johnny
Absolutely.
playing, Highway 61. You
Oh,
just
it's
wanted to-
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. So
you just want to just.
there you go. There you go.
Well,
So
our friend
here's-
Andy.
here's
our
the-
friend
here's the-
Andy
here's
did us
the-
lesson this week.
Here's the story behind that one.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for that for forever, right? And I don't realize that they only made one. That was it. There's only one. And I'm looking for. I said, well, maybe I can get a righty reverse, like a non-reverse.
Yeah, like a non-reverse.
Some guitars you can flip them.
Yeah.
See how it looks.
And so I was at Norm's Rare Guitars down here. They had a couple of them. They wanted $5,000 for them. So I said, hey, boy, let me go home and do some research. So I went on, and I'm going around. There's a place called Southpaw Guitars, which is in Houston.
Yeah.
Thank God it's that far away. Otherwise, I'd be living out of my car. So, it's a left-handed guitar shop. That's all they have is left-handed guitar. So I click on there, and what pops up on the splash screen is this Firebird. And I'm like, I thought at first it was a copy, right?
Yeah.
But then the shaft of light from heaven came down on it. I could hear the choir, and I'm going, shit. I looked at down below, it says the only Firebird, left-handed Firebird 5 Gibson ever made. And I'm going, that's it, And they only wanted $27,500 for it, right? and I start to break. I really started breaking out in a cold sweat. Right? I'm like, fuck. That's what I've been looking for all of these years. It's right there. It is
Right.
for sale. It's just 27 grand, you know. And I start calling friends. You know, I remember the first call I made was to Bob Birch, who's a great friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, but he played bass for Elton John, right? He was in the Dragon Choir. I call him up. I said, Bob, I just found the Firebird that, that I always talk about. And he goes, well, how much they want for it? It's like $27,500. And he goes, fuck, get it. And it's like, really? He goes, yeah, $2,700. That's nothing. That's nothing to pay. No, I said it's $27,000. He goes, you're out of your fucking mind. And then he goes, well, wait a minute. No, you're not. You should, And he goes, whatever. So I start. I decide I'm not going to get it. I can't. That's a lot of money. I have a son, and
Right.
And I started talking to my wife Joey. And I was telling her about it, and I said, you're not going to believe it. I found this guitar, and she goes, "You found that? You found?" Yeah. How much they want? It's $27,000. I don't think I can get it. And I goes, well, then you have to make up your mind and make your peace with the fact that you had the opportunity to find the one thing you were looking for here, and you passed on. Can you live with that?
Wow.
She says. Personally,
Wow.
I think you should buy it. I think it was put there for you. And she's the one that talked me into buying it. Is my wife.
Well, she's a keeper,
So-
huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah. So, that's why I have it. It was just one of
Wow.
those things. So it was like the one that got away in reverse,
Yeah.
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 The
The one that didn't get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a really
yeah.
good story. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And they flew it out here in its own airline seat. They booked a ticket for it in its own airline seat. Handed it to me and had me sign off on it. The certificate of authenticity. So look, anytime I call South Park Guitars now, and I go, "It's Mark Bonilla." Yes, sir. What would you like, sir?
I bet.
Hey, it's Mark Bonilla on the phone.
Oh, I bet. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really nice story.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a really good story. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I like the really
yeah,
good ones. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely
So,
good karma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. So.
Mark, I wanted to ask you about the guitar that's directly behind you.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh, that's
That- yeah, that one. I noticed it's got a bunch of Marvel comic characters on it, which I think is the coolest thing. And you have the Submariner on there.
Well, I got more than that. Let's see. if I can-
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the core.
a healthy.
All right.
healthy
Okay.
dose of-
Okay, Lenny. I'm gonna see how big your dick is. All right. Who's this up here?
Hang on. Get 'em
Here, hold it. That's
Hold on a second.
not fair. That's not fair. Here, let me. I'm gonna
That's
pull this up.
Ant-Man.
Yes.
We got
Okay.
Ant-Man. I see
then-
Daredevil. I see Submariner.
I see Iron Man,
see-
Doctor Strange, Submariner, Silver Surfer, the Hulk, Captain America, Wasp, Black
Wasp.
Panther, Spider-Man,
Human Torch.
and the Human Torch.
Thor. Yep. Thor's in
And
it.
wait a minute. Down here.
Hold
Right
on.
there.
Oh,
Right
Nick
there.
Fury.
Fuck! You're the only guy that's ever gotten all of them.
Yeah.
You're my new fucking hero.
Dude, those
that's
were
beautiful.
my idols growing up. That's
Yeah,
Okay,
that's-
that's where my idol's growing up. That's why people go, "Who are your early influences?" Oh, fuck
Marvel
Hendrix.
Comics.
It was fucking Daredevil, man. It was
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Those are my
Jack
early
Kirby.
influences.
It was Jack
Yeah.
Kirby.
Yeah. Well, check these out. Then you'll dig these. Let's see if I can get a look on these. Hold
All
on.
right.
Okay.
These things here.
Yeah.
You see what that
The
is?
markers. Yeah.
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 Those are the things you sent away for at the front of the comic.
Oh my
Yeah.
How
God.
cool is that?
Onion gum. Throw your voice.
Yeah.
Joy buzzer.
Oh, dude, that is so
Hypno
cool.
coin. And then of course you had to have the comics code.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right there. So all the way up the neck, what we did was we had we put reflective pearl in here,
So
a lighting gels, and then epoxied them all. So they look like they're light. They light up, but they
Yeah.
catch
Like
the light.
Yeah, they
You know,
did nice.
so
Those
yeah,
are
it's fine.
great.
Yeah, I went to all my comics and redrew them. I took them out and drew them on separate pieces of board, and then there, get a better view. There you go. I drew them on separate pieces of illustration board and colored them. And then they took photos of that and inlaid them into the neck. That was Leo Knapp from Yamaha. So,
Wow.
and this guitar got me on board on Iron Man 2 because I played this for a session that we were doing for the show. It was John Debney and I, and the guys from Marvel came over, and I brought this because I knew they were going to flip when they saw it, and they did. They flipped out. He goes, "Man, anybody that has a guitar like that has got to be the perfect guy for this fucking movie."
Yeah.
And they were right,
Yeah.
So
And you also did soundtrack for Spider-Man 2?
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff. So see, the thing is that it was just such a love of comics. I still have them all bagged and boarded, and all
So
of
do
that.
I.
So
got a pretty good collection.
We did too.
But that was my
We never grew up.
my inspiration growing up, and my release was just the comic books.
Yeah, mine too.
Wow.
It
But
was
so
great.
getting back now, that's a Yamaha guitar.
Yeah, it's a Yamaha Pacifica.
Now, is that the brand that you commonly are using?
Yeah.
And do you have any like custom work done to them? To your
Well,
spec?
I make sure I usually have a Wilkinson bridge, because and I have Gary Erickson down here in Orange County is amazing, brilliant man, and he's designed these rubies that I put in the saddles instead of the saddle. They're called ruby slippers, and the string, and then also they're also located in the nut. And the string trees, so that everywhere that the string rides on the guitar, it's on stone, like hard stone.
Wow. Okay.
And so the sustain is a pure sustain, and the fundamental is pure, and it has this amazingly great hold that you can make, and it makes for my style of playing, it works well because I like notes I can sustain and whip around with that wobble arm. The wobble arm is completely straight. I don't ever have it angled like this. And it has resistance so that I can pull it up and make it stay wherever I want it. So that because I use it a lot for pushing and pulling and doing all different types of stuff, like a sax player would use the armature to
Right.
play. Bending notes up or down or doing whatever to them. I'm able to do that with that. So those are the kind of the customized things that I use. From that point. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's my go-to guitar because I can get and as a matter of fact, I still have a coil in there that Ronnie Montrose designed for me that cuts out, like on the humbucker will cut the the coil in half and get this really nice clean tone that you can attenuate then almost like a wah-wah pedal sound that he designed because he was very, very electronically gifted and would often modify most of his gear, and so I got kind of a fringe benefit because he got to mod a lot of my stuff, from my Charvels and all of that. So it was
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Amazing.
cool. So, is there one of our standard questions is the gear of the week? Is there something that new that's really cool to you, or is there something that's frustrated you, or give us a piece of gear that's good or bad, or
a good piece of gear that my buddy Mike Wallace got me that I think is just a wonderful little addition to it is called the Digitech Freakout. Do you know about this pedal?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Frequout.
Yeah.
It can get a feedback note at
Yeah.
will. When you hit it, like, it comes in, like the kind you used to have to, you have to point. It's like, how when you have bad reception on your cell and there's only one direction that your body can point before you get, that's how we used to be with trying to get the right feedback note out of our guitars, right?
You need to find the stage and find the place to be and get that.
Right. Well, not with this pedal. This pedal will kick down like an octave above, 2 octaves, a fifth, whatever, and it will hold that note like that. It's amazing. It evolves like a note. It doesn't just click on it, like that, and you can hold it. It's a very cool pedal for really cool stuff. And if you use it with an EBow and a volume pedal, you can do some really bitchin' stuff with it. So it's a real creative pedal, and not many people really use them or perhaps know them. I don't know, but that's a great piece of gear. I love that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, check that out.
Yeah, we'll get the review.
And there's also a. Do you remember the Maestro phase shifter from the 70s?
Yeah.
It came in. It was a huge, right? It had the 3 different clips on it. Well, Heptoad makes one. It was the same exact circuitry, but it's in a box this big, And
Really?
you have the three lights, the red, the blue, the slow phaser. It's exactly the same phaser that, you have like John McLaughlin had on Mahavishnu Orchestra, that. And
Yeah.
it's in a little compact box. I got it on Reverb. But yeah, it's great. It's called a Heptode.
Gotta
And,
write that down.
okay.
So.
yeah, a phaser, phase shifter, That's another one. And the third one I'll tell you about is an Ethos pedal, ETHOS, a great overdrive pedal. I used it with Edgar Winter, Derek Smalls, all of that stuff. I used all of it with those bands, and it's just got a great organic, a crunch tone and lead tone that don't sound transistorized at all. It really sounds like an amp breaking up. It's a great pedal, really good pedal.
All right.
Ethos,
Yeah.
ETHOS.
Cool.
Yeah, great
Awesome.
pedals.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. We got to ask about the you've toured, you've played a lot of stuff. You got to give us a
Well,
Spinal Tap moment.
hang on.
Everybody's got a Spinal Tap moment.
But he played with Spinal Tap. So
I played with
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to really have one.
Well, I have a glorious Spinal Tap, moment, of course, and then I've got one that that Harry Shearer told me. Then and then I have ones that I've lived through my whole life.
Yeah.
The great Spinal Tap moment for me is I got to play Stonehenge on the mandolin.
Okay.
And I thought, I've fucking arrived. It was, I got to play it every night. Oh, and how they danced. It's like, God damn it. It doesn't get any better than that. I
It
don't
doesn't
care
get better
who you
than-
play with. The fact that I got to play that on that is like, it's like get hit by a bus tomorrow. It's okay.
Right? Did you just laugh? I mean, every time that part was coming up, did you just laugh?
Oh, no, yeah. You just, what am I doing here? I kept looking for the dwarfs,
Yeah.
What was great though, there was other ones. We were playing like Hellhole with Jack Black singing lead on it. It was like, and he's like, no, because he gives it up. He totally goes like all out commits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So playing Hellhole with him was great. I got to play Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You with Billy Idol. Shit like that. It was just great. It's just, and it doesn't matter if anything fucks up because people think it's part of the act. If something blows up, as a matter of fact, this brings me to the second Spinal Tap moment. Was Harry, was talking about this. We were joking one day, and he goes, "Yeah," he says, "I'll tell you, man. It's not as easy as it seems." He says, "When shit breaks down, because when shit really breaks down, nobody takes it seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like an amp broke in Germany somewhere, and they're like, hey, they're saying." Fucking amp broke. They're like, yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, the crew's going, this is so
No,
funny.
the fucking amp broke down because they know how convincing they are, looking like they're fucked up. And they're like, no, it is. So at the end, they never came out, So they said at the end of the night, says, we have to develop a safe word, okay? Because this can't do, the thing really fucked up, because they were so good at that, So they did. They had an action of some sort. I don't know what it was, like a sign, like a Klingon hail or something. And then, they had a safe word and that was it. Otherwise, but my
Just like, yeah.
yeah. It's exactly what they were doing. Like, there's no way to get through to them,
Right.
My Spinal. Well, I had so many, but one of them that always sticks out was when I was in a lounge band called Lou DiMaggio and the Accents. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and see, Lenny, you know exactly. You got the visual, don't you? Yeah, it's like Murph and the Magic Tones. That shit, And we had to wear tuxes, tux shirt with a black vest, the whole monkey suit, right?
Right.
And Lou DiMaggio was the leader. He played a Cordovox that was cut in half, set on two pillows. Then he put this around this makeshift stage that had the accents in wood, and then all of his music, sheet music, was draped around the top. And he'd play with this cheesy organ. I was playing guitar, and then a guy named Don was playing drums and trumpet at the same time. He would stand up with this hand and we'd play trumpet with this hand. So this is the image of Lou DiMaggio and the Accents. And and we're playing, these shitty places, where like 5 people, and we were up at the Greenery. Was it the Greenery? No, it wasn't the Greenery. It was Boundary Oaks in Walnut Creek, and it's like 12:30 at night. And we think, okay, we're going to go home early, right? And it's sure enough, when you play these clubs, you think you're going to go home, and all of a sudden you get a crowd of drunks that come in like, shit, you can't. So they're all hanging out in the front, and we started playing and you know how they come up to you to ask you a song, but they don't come up in between songs. They come up in the middle of the song to try and talk to you by grabbing your arm down and going, "Hey, do you know?" They don't. They never went because they're fucked up anyway. So we're playing "On the Road Again" by Willie Nelson. Don't tick it, on the road again, right?
Yeah.
This girl, half in the can already, comes up to Lou and goes, "Can you play It's Snowing?" And like, "It's snowing? What? It's snowing." Yeah, he's doing this. He's playing away, and he's like listening, and I can overhear. "Can you play It's Snowing by Glenn Campbell?" What do you mean Glenn Campbell? Never had, "It's snowing and your door is always open and your path is free to walk." The words are, "It's knowing that your door is always open." She thought it was, "It's snowing and your door is always open." Right. So we're like, "Oh, fuck. She wants gentle." And we're going, "Don't dick it, don't dick it." She wants "Gentle on My Mind," Lou. "Gentle on my mind." Don't dick it, don't dick it, right? And then comes a point, she's hanging on, she's hanging on to Lou's, bench there, his thing. She passes out. Right. Only she doesn't let go of the thing, and she passes out backwards. And Lou played that fucker all the way down, just all the way down until it landed on top of her. He landed on top of her, jammed his organ. Sounds like a Star Trek.
Jammed his organ.
He jammed his organ down.
His organ on. So it's going like that, right? His toupee slides off, right? So check it out. He just picks his fucking rug up and he goes into the fucking men's room. She's passed out. Organ is still, and we're still going, "Don't dick it, don't dick it, don't." We didn't break stride. So anybody coming in and seeing this David Lynchian moment, like, what the fuck is going on here, man? It took him a while to get it taped back on, before he came out and pick his shit up. It was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? But it was just one of those things, man. One of those fucking things.
I'll have what they're having.
Wow.
That is great. That is a great. That's
I'm crying.
And he just left the organ on and he went to
Yeah,
bed.
he just left it on. He didn't care, man. It was this fucking tube. It was like, fuck my tube. Bails. And she's not feeling any pain. She's done. She's gone.
Right.
Her friends are just sitting there watching like the idiots that they were. And we're just playing, It was like, it's just the weirdest fucking thing. We had no idea what we were going to do, But it's just, that's the shit. So many things happen in that band. There's a whole Spinal Tap book. Every night, some shit would happen with that band. We were like a Spinal Tap magnet. It was always something that was going on with that band. We've got millions of those stories, but that was one that just kind of came to mind. Unbelievable shit.
That
was good.
Very Matt.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're at that section. I gave you a little preview on this one. The that artist that is so good they actually frustrate you. I'm gonna say that you would definitely fall in this category as one of those guys that definitely deserves a hearty fuck you. Because
fuck you too.
Yeah, because you are a great guitar player. You're a very good singer. You do everything. You play with a lot of people. You have a lot of respect for a lot of people. So. And I can't get respect from these guys here. So.
It's a work in progress. I don't
always.
I look at things like you're no matter who you are, we're all servants of the music. There's nobody that's greater than that. And when you approach a solo or you approach a tune or whatever it is, you have to remember that that's what's important. Again, it's storytelling. It's the point getting across to the music, and it doesn't matter if it's a solo. Make sure the solo serves the song. Make sure that whatever you do, it makes sense in the song, and that you don't overstay your welcome. That you know when the fuck to go home, and not overstay. And this is the thing. But if you realize that you're at music's service, you'll never develop an ego that you can't deal with, because that mountain will always be greater. It's like going to Yosemite. These motherfucking things are going to be way bigger than me. And they always will be. So to me, I always keep myself in perspective because I know I've heard great composers. I've heard what I consider the great guitar players, and they all possess that. They all possess that thing of serving the music that they're playing, whether they wrote it or whether somebody else wrote it and they've adapted it, whatever it happens to be. Coming across with that, that's what's so important. So to me, I'm just a servant. That's all I am,
Yeah. So
Wow.
who do you want to give a fuck you to that is so talented, or that frustrates you because you can see their talent coming out and it's like, wow, I don't even know how he even does that or she does that. Who do you look up to like
Well,
that?
I don't. Okay, for one, I'll modify it a little bit by saying that I'm never intimidated by anybody. I've never been intimidated by anybody because I feel not that I can keep up with them or that any of that has nothing to do with that. Is I see them as an artist, as somebody that I've been privileged to be experienced to,
Right.
and it's like, to me, I hold these people in high regard, not because it's something that I can't do, but it's because they've made the world a better place than it was before they entered into it, and I have so much respect for these players, and they've helped me, they've been these guides for me and bar setters, where like, man, I can get to that spot, I can get to this spot. They're like guardian angels, so to speak, whether they know it or not. Keith
Yeah.
was one.
Yeah.
I don't have one. I mean, I can give you a list of 10 of them, but one of them that as far as if you want to match ability and all of that stuff together, stuff that I still can't do, I would have to say Jan Ackerman from Focus.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Oh.
Jan Ackerman, if you watch some of that stuff, I mean, he was so versatile and so unorthodox in his style. You can't really cop his style. It's a completely bizarre, edgy, angular style, yet he can sit down and play Les Clochards or Gate to Europe and this beautiful nylon string or pick up the lute and play some classical piece. He's amazing. And I don't ever think in America, at least, he ever got his just, props because he was a brilliant guitar player, amazing guitar player. And that would be the first. As a matter of fact, I don't wear guitar player shirts with musicians on the front. I don't do it.
Right.
He's the only one that I've ever bought a shirt to wear that I would proudly display his image on my chest.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I don't, not even Hendrix, I haven't. As much as Jimmy was one of my idols growing up.
Yeah.
Jan, I think deserves the fuck you because he's. When you go back and you listen to the stuff in Focus, the things that he did. It's just beautiful lyricism, everything, it's just phenomenal player.
Right.
I've
Wow.
been reaching out to his people for over a year trying to get him to do the show. I don't know if he will or not, but he's definitely somebody on the list that I've always wanted.
He's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And
Absolutely
the people that just know that song, Hocus Pocus by
Hocus
Focus,
Pocus,
Yeah.
yes. They
If
don't
they-
know anything.
they don't know the
No, it's the same people that think Vangelis just wrote Chariots of Fire and,
Yeah.
and discounted like all of those fucking albums he had prior to that in the 70s.
Yeah.
And Blade Runner and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That was absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
They just think of this da da da, and it's like Gino Vanelli doing "I Just Want to Stop" and go, "No, fucker, have you heard Brother to Brother? Have you heard all of that shit? No, there's some depth in here,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Jan Ackerman, deep motherfucker,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, there's others. Ronnie taught me how to build a house. He and I'm serious. He was a carpenter. That's how
Wow.
Bill Graham discovered him, right? But you notice that, and again, this is kind of goes back to what I was saying about art form, in that one art begets another one. It's the same concepts, a different medium, right? Well, Ronnie would play a guitar solo like he built a house. And how do you build a house? You build it from the foundation up. You start with you dig a pit, right? You put that foundation in, then you frame it. You put up you put up the walls here. You put the board in, then you start painting it. You start filling it with and then at the end you put the furniture in. You do all of those things in a stepwise procedure, right? And if you listen to his solos, that's what he would do. He would start low. He's one of the only guitar players, if you listen, that started low on the neck and would sit down there for a while. you know, and still he would just build up and build up and build up and you know, do this great peak. And, you know, not a lot of guitar players do that. Most of them would just go right to the top. You know, you could saw off the rest of their neck from 20 fret down, you know, but he would build that thing, you know, and construct it, and which is the same exact thing that David Gilmour does. And you're not going to get any better than David Gilmour. He's what I consider, I would fuck him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So precise.
and here's the thing with David is, like Ronnie, he takes breaths in between his phrases, just like we do when we speak, you know. He would, you know, like, listen, go back and listen to Another Brick in the Wall guitar solo. All right? Good. I got some shit in my mouth. Anyway, go back and probably a seed from the pot. If you go back and you listen to Another Brick in the Wall, a line, then all of a sudden there's just nothing. Now another line, then nothing. He's like feeding you a gourmet meal and then allowing you to chew your food, taste it, and swallow it before another bite. Here's another bite. That's how you do it. You deliver a little bit, you let him, you know, you frame it like a picture, frame it. All right, you got that one? Let's frame another picture, you know, and that way it gives value to what you're saying. You know, it's not just a run-on sentence. Nobody does that better than David Gilmour. You know, I watched him take the whole stadium of a Rose Bowl down with that solo to Comfortably Numb.
Yeah.
He came out there. And
one of the best solos ever.
Okay, you were there? Well, then you saw it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
I was probably coming right next to you. So, you know, then he just came out.
Yeah.
No. He didn't strike any positions, you know. You know, he just came out and played that fucking solo. And I just remember the place just went like this. They were just like, you know, until at the end of the solo, people were just screaming. And then he just goes, yeah, boom. And then he just walked the fuck off. You know, like I just pissed over every single person in this house. You know, not that he meant to do it. It's just what I'll never forget that moment. It was just like, my God, that's a solo. That's how you do a solo. Yeah. You're not cutting a form. You know, you're communicating, telling the story, letting them digest a little of the script, then giving them the next line, and then just fucking tagging it at the end, and then just going, I'm done. That's it. I'm not going to overstay my welcome. It was brilliant. I'll never forget that guitar moment for me. That was probably my definitive guitar moment of all the guitar players I've ever seen. Was that moment, and that's why he'll always be my fucking hero.
That's why he always will.
You know,
it's amazing. Yeah. Well, Mark, thanks so much for coming on and giving us your time. We want to make sure to remember that we started this because of the
that was so long ago.
Concert. You know, the DVD is getting released tomorrow, so we want to definitely make sure people hit that up.
That'll be you go to cherryred.co.uk. Yep. And type in Keith Emerson and order your copy. The like I said, the digital version will be there tomorrow, the 11th, and the the disc, you know, the disc digipack will be ready a week from then on the 19th. But tomorrow is the anniversary of Keith's 5th year of passing, and so we wanted to make it a positive note happen on that day.
Sure.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's kind of why we did it.
Big influence, you know,
on everyone, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna sign off. So thanks to everybody for hanging out, and people were here. They're still watching. They're still hanging out and watching. So they're
gluttons
really
for punishment.
Man, I hope they laugh like we did. I really do.
We want you to stay on, and we're gonna say good night to everybody else out there.
All right, folks.
Good night, kids.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Hit the buttons. You know the stuff.
Yep.
YouTube.
Subscribe, follow, like.